Because look, everybody knows what happened. We don't need to show you. We just need to show you why she made the decision she made.
With fans, reviewers, and cultural analysts all offering their opinions on the relative importance of tradition and change in contemporary narrative, unique yet it deals with intolerance for variety. Goldberg continued by telling her critics that if they have an issue with diversity, they should not see any Disney or studio films that encourage inclusivity. Disney's contemporary telling of the fairy tale excluded everyone from the entertainment industry, but her harsh treatment only served to further alienate viewers. Many of those who were dissatisfied with the movie weren't particularly against diversity, rather, they were annoyed with Disney's practice of altering well-loved classics to fit with modern themes rather than tackling these issues. Whoopi completely disregarded them. All criticism is reduced to ignorance and hate. Goldberg persisted in defending herself by denying any allegations that Disney is using Snow White to further a social or political goal. Based on what they saw in the trailer, I would need one person to point out to me how Snow White advances an agenda. She ridiculed the notion that Disney is purposefully waging a cultural war, calling it the most ridiculous, justifiable worries about altering the plot of a beloved tale. She believes that viewers should embrace a tale that is truer to contemporary society ideals, even if it differs from the original, as seen by her remarks on the need to see the truth. Fans of the classic contend, however, that the original Snow White does present eternal truths, and changing these stories would be more like rewriting history than creating a new one. The changing circumstances around Snow White reflect a larger cultural discussion about the function of media, nostalgia, and advancement. Like many other companies, Disney must balance the needs of its devoted fan base with the need to adapt its storylines for new audiences. Reviving cherished classics necessitates striking a careful balance between respecting the original work and embracing the desire for diversity and contemporary concerns as seen by each remake. These discussions will surely continue to center on Snow White as it gets ready for its theatrical debut, implying that their opinions were out of date rather than taking them into consideration as legitimate viewpoints. The Snow White dispute reveals a widening gap between traditionalists who want Disney to keep its iconic stories alive and others who support modernizing them to appeal to a younger audience. Disney's desire to update its library and make it more accessible and relevant to current events is evident in the live-action remake. However, as seen by previous adaptations such as The Little Mermaid, which also drew criticism for alterations to the characters and narrative, this attempt to reimagine classics has often encountered opposition. The issue of how far adaptation should go and if these cherished tales are being honored or reimagined to further a new goal is brought up by Disney's choice to consistently change its classics. Goldberg's The View defense of Snow White highlights how heated these cultural arguments are. According to Goldberg, the criticism of the movie is more indicative of a culture that is hostile to tolerance and diversity than it is of fans. Reimagining classic tales for younger audiences, arguing that adhering to traditional narratives impedes the advancement of society, she said, "To be honest, I think this world is sick." In response to criticism of Disney's revised Snow White, Goldberg claims that the concerns are the result of a reluctance to move forward and a sentimental connection to an animated movie that, in her view, doesn't represent contemporary ideals. She said that the film's detractors were fueling a larger social problem of bigotry. Some fans supported Goldberg's remarks because they believe that tales like Snow White should change to reflect changing societal mores, while others thought her remarks came off as condescending and contemptuous. Changes to cherished Disney masterpieces like Snow White should be handled carefully, according to many devoted Disney fans who feel that these films have a particular place in cinematic history. They felt that Goldberg's position disregarded their sentimental commitment to the original animation and resistance to change. According to Goldberg, Disney's choice to modernize the plot and encourage diversity in casting reflects the ideals that society ought to be pursuing. Fans of the original Snow White specifically contend that the Disney adaptation deviates too much from the story's original themes, which were innocence, love, and conventional fairy tale values. According to reports, the updated version takes off some of these traditional components, making Snow White a more self-sufficient, independent woman who is not reliant on the prince. Some people like this reworking, while others believe it diminishes the story's original purity and beauty. They would rather see Disney celebrate its classics than alter them. However, Goldberg contended that viewers must be prepared to abandon these outdated notions and embrace a new Snow White that speaks to modern ideals. In his passionate comments, Goldberg emphasized the value of questioning conventional wisdom and, despite the fact that many have hailed this casting decision as a step toward diversity, more controversy was generated by Zegler's own remarks on the original Snow White. She called the animated classic outdated and implied that the prince's character was problematic, which infuriated traditional Disney fans. Following this round of criticism, Goldberg took a strong stand on The View, claiming that fans who were angry about the modifications were regressive and reluctant to accept the essential progression in the narrative. She asserted that viewers should embrace these adjustments as part of a larger commitment to growth and inclusiveness, arguing that the negative responses were more a reflection of society concerns than valid complaints. Her fervent defense, however, only served to enrage reviewers, many of whom thought that her comments disregarded their sincere devotion to the plot and morals of the original film. Even before its release, Disney's live-action Snow White remake is already enmeshed in controversy, sparking discussions among moviegoers and on social media. Disney's significant alterations to the plot and main actress Rachel Zegler's remarks on the original movie, which some fans believe are contemptuous and disrespectful to the iconic 1937 animation, are at the heart of the dispute. After Whoopi Goldberg, a vocal presenter on The View, vehemently supported Disney's artistic decisions and attacked fans for opposing change, calling them intolerant and out of touch with modern society, the outcry grew. Disney has redesigned Snow White to suit a contemporary setting with substantial changes in character development, narrative, and casting. These changes go beyond simple updates. In an unexpected choice for a figure often represented with a light complexion, emerging Hollywood actor Rachel Zegler was chosen to play Snow White. Some contend that Disney is essentially changing characters to make political statements rather than honoring the core of the original narrative. The most absurd things I've ever seen have been said about Rachel because of her combative attitude toward the public. Whoopi said that Ziller was the stronger woman in this tale, but many believe that her backing of Ziller's aggressive behavior had already alienated supporters rather than fostering communication or a deeper comprehension of Goldberg's comments. The gap between the film's producers and viewers who expected polite interaction was instead confronted with antagonism from Goldberg as well as Ziller. This support for Disney Snow White wasn't unexpected. Goldberg's co-hosting chat program on ABC, which is owned by Disney, has direct connections to the entertainment behemoth. Her motivations are called into doubt by this link. Does Whoopi's fervent devotion to the movie stem from a sincere faith in Disney's principles, or is she only defending? I've ever heard, but many fans didn't buy it because they thought Snow White was just another example of how Disney's recent movies have pushed more toward political commentary than storytelling. Goldberg's assertion that the criticism was just noise from a few noisy families only made things more tense for irate viewers instead of addressing their concerns. Her comments came off as patronizing and insulting. Additionally, Whoopi praised Rachel Zegler and defended her approach to facing criticism, defending her business interests. Disney is fully aware that its affiliate talent is expected to spread its messages of equality, diversity, and Whoopi's. And some fans are now questioning if her support for the movie is motivated more by maintaining Disney's favor than by personal conviction at a time when the company is stepping up its social media marketing. It's difficult to ignore Goldberg's devotion to the firm after ABC News suspended her for 2 weeks this morning for making divisive comments about the Holocaust. Kim Godwin, president of ABC News, said in a statement that I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg was suspended for 2 weeks for making rude and incorrect remarks. Although she has now apologized, I have encouraged her to consider the consequences of her remarks. Since the Holocaust isn't about race, let's be honest about it. On Monday's show, the host of ABC's The View falsely stated that the Holocaust wasn't about race. The entire ABC News organization stands in solidarity with our Jewish colleagues, friends, family, and communities, not about race because it's about how inhumane men are to one another. That's what it's about. Goldberg's appearance on Double Down on the Colbert Show that night. Yes, the American experience is often based on skin color, so that's what race means to me when you say that you're a racist. They had to dig deep to determine who was Jewish before tweeting an explanation. This was cruel, but it wasn't based on appearances. I apologize, saying that I have always supported Jews worldwide and that I will always stand by them. The following day, I opened The View by saying that the Holocaust wasn't about race, but rather about man's inhumanity to man. But it is about race because Hitler and the Nazis believed Jews to be a lower race. Words matter, and mine is no exception. I apologize for what I said, and I stand corrected. I also support Jews, as they are aware, and you all. This history lends more credence to Goldberg's defense of Ziller. Both women have made contentious public statements, and now Whoopi seems to be using her position to support someone who is receiving criticism of her own, but many people view this as being as tone-deaf as Goldberg's previous comments. It's no secret that media outlets associated with Disney often echo the company's agenda without scrutiny, and her actions have damaged her credibility when it comes to teaching people about tolerance and respect. Good Morning America GMA, which airs on ABC, is a perfect example of this. GMA's lengthy history of promoting Disney movies with unquestioning enthusiasm, from animated remakes to Marvel blockbusters, they frequently include exclusive interviews, trailers, and positive reviews, with Disney handling the backstage operations. Given their history of promoting Disney projects, it's difficult to avoid seeing this coverage as nothing more than corporate cheerleading, not surprisingly, thinking he was taking us to Hawaii. At the time, we didn't really understand travel. Having grandchildren has been a lifelong privilege. Like Goldberg and the GMA presenters, Kelly Ria, another ABC celebrity, expressed her support for Ziller and Snow White. It's debatable whether Rie's support for Disney's decision stems from personal convictions or pressure to conform to the company's messaging, but it's becoming more and more obvious that people associated with the entertainment behemoth are expected to promote the company line. This type of support isn't just found among Disney employees. Many Hollywoodies have a little boy who is currently obsessed with Cars, so we watch Cars every morning in bed together while he drinks his bottle after getting out of bed. Celebrities are quick to join the trend, praising Disney's projects for their inclusivity while dismissing any criticism as outdated or bigoted. Some stars genuinely believe these messages, but others may just be following the trend to make. Interestingly, Whoopi's adamant support of Zlair seems familiar since, like Zlair, Goldberg is no stranger to controversy. After making very disrespectful remarks against the Holocaust and the race of Jews in 2022, Whoopi was suspended from the show due to popular outrage. Goldberg's assertion that the Holocaust was not about race caused a stir on social media and in conventional media, and ABC, a Disney-owned network, quickly suspended Whoopi for 2 weeks after the incident. Good Morning America has made a special effort to defend Snow White hosts, portraying the criticism as baseless and highlighting Rachel Zegler's "the same narrative that Whoopi Goldberg promoted on The View is rejected as ignorance or aversion to change." Despite courage and Disney's dedication to progressing, which many viewers see as justified criticism, I understand what you're thinking. Why has she never been here to work for the same firm for 34 years? That's my tremendous positive fortune. Disney is responsible for not just my profession, but also my whole immediate family. I met my sexy husband, Mark Consuelos, an actor and talk show presenter. On All My Children's set, I can still smell the gardens, I can see the electric light parade, and we still talk about that trip as if it were yesterday. My dad, Joe, worked as a bus driver for New Jersey Transit for 30 years. Oh, right, Jersey. In 1973, he told us that he was taking our whole family to Florida for a magical new world called Disney. We stayed at the Polynesian Village. Toy Story, Ohio, Little Mermaid, that's an excellent one, my God. Do you have a favorite Disney film? Toy Story is a wonderful one. Oh, that's so difficult to choose, it's unfair. I want to spend 20 minutes to think about it. Give me a moment and I'll think about it. It's a worthy question. The Lion King, why is that? The Lion King was the first movie I ever saw, and I sobbed over it for the first time. When Mufasa died, I was like, wow, and then I thought, I want to tell stories I would want to take part in it. What was the name of it? It had a little toaster and, there were all those things. What was the name of it? Brave Little Toaster? Yes, that was my favorite. I'd say Mulan because I'm not sure, but it's based on a real tale and she really worked things out with her father. She was courageous enough to go to battle without lying to him, so I suppose she's very strong in that, and she's so vulnerable and she just defends her family and acts morally. It's a beloved Disney film with a beautiful tale. I'll admit that I've seen The Lion King a lot and I really adore it. Well, I believe I'll go with that for the time being. I also think I like The Incredibles. The resounding endorsements from Disney-affiliated celebrities beg the bigger question: are they really committed to the cause, or are they only defending their salaries? It's difficult to overlook Disney's well-known practice of awarding loyalty and reprimanding opposition. Celebrities who openly support Disney's agenda often get better treatment, more interviews, bigger parts, and positive press coverage. On the other hand, individuals who criticize Disney or even allude to disagreement usually lose their prominence. The fawning PR for Snow White seems more like self-preservation than sincere conviction, since the entertainment business is aware that winning Disney's favor can make or kill a career. It is not by chance that Disney, through smart media alliances and carefully crafted messaging with ABC, the business has perfected the art of manipulating public opinion, as seen by the vociferous support for movies like Snow White from affiliated characters. Among the publications they control are Good Morning America and others. Disney makes sure that their interpretation of the story takes center stage, but this tactic has drawbacks because as more people see how well coordinated this assistance is, they become less trusting of the messages the audience is being told. When compliments seem forced and the criticism of Snow White implies that Disney's charm is waning, viewers are demanding authenticity rather than fake enthusiasm. However, when I saw the logo, I thought, that's my name, it's No Wits up there, and I sobbed uncontrollably. I also had a dream in which, similar to our little family routine, and because I'm a vehicle enthusiast, I can't choose just one since there are so many excellent ones. Moana, Mulan, Hercules, Tarzan is up there. Those are simply the first things that sprung to mind, and in all honesty, it's just that even though it's just a few years old, Tangled is already my favorite Disney film. Of course, it's a difficult film, but Emperor's New Groove is fantastic. Wizards, Wally placed the movie High School Musical. Lizzie McGuire. I was replaced by a diverse woman. Oh, not again, but this time it wasn't just me. They were taking all of my favorite people and replacing them with diverse women who were whining about the main emphasis is on her romantic relationship with a man who actually chases her. She is Snow White and the Wicked Queen is me, Snow Music. Okay, White, here's the crucial question. What really transpired between Rachel Zegler and Disney that resulted in her being cast as Snow White? Instead of the movie or its casting, Rachel Zegler's remarks were the catalyst for the uproar surrounding Disney's Snow White. Fans were incensed when Zegler openly criticized the original animated picture, calling it strange and out of date. Many fans enjoyed the notion of recreating Snow White for a contemporary audience. But the remark was off as a rejection of the beloved original and overshadowed the enjoyment of the film's variety. Halle Bailey, who played Ariel in The Little Mermaid, handled her promotional responsibilities with grace and respect for the original film when questioned about the changes made in her adaptation. In contrast, Zegler's comments caused a firestorm, giving the impression that she was attacking the very legacy that made the movie iconic. Bailey respected the ancient tale while highlighting the value of representation. Her optimistic stance was well greeted by viewers who suggested that Zegler's remarks are more to blame for the uproar against Snow White than any racial or remake-related difficulties. While supporters are opposed to what they see as tokenism, they are not necessarily against diversity. Disney often reimagines historic characters to meet current trends without creating really important content, which frustrates the audience. Tales rather than creating unique storylines that naturally encourage inclusion, Disney has been charged with sloppily changing the looks or characteristics of characters to satisfy diversity requirements. This strategy makes a lot of viewers feel condescending, as if the business believes that they would watch anything as long as it is presented as progressive. Fans believe that the core of the character and tale is being sacrificed to further a larger goal, making the issue with Snow White especially delicate. The early enthusiasm for a varied. The insistence that these changes are purely progressive obscures the real issue that fans want authenticity in storytelling rather than overt attempts to make a political statement. The white cast quickly turned into disappointment when fans felt that the film's heart was lost amid the clamor for representation. Fans are becoming increasingly concerned about Disney's new Snow White remake, primarily because of what the lead actress, Rachel Zegler, has been saying to the press. She has been called a walking PR disaster for Disney. Notion: yes, modernization is okay, but if you have serious problems with the original fairy tale and plot, maybe you should produce a new film instead of redoing it. I don't think that's too much to ask for, but listen, you can have strong, independent female characters who accomplish amazing things and are heroines. I mean, that's great, and I don't think anyone minds, but you don't have to call prince or disparage men in the process. The real world. Will you check under the bed, sir, to make sure there are no Disney executives underneath? The animation was created 85 years ago, so it's rather old. You mentioned adding a modern touch to it on stage, but what do you mean by that? I just mean that it's not 1937 anymore. Since we included a boy with the prince, I'm sure many people would think it's a love tale. However, she's not dreaming of genuine love, rather, she's dreaming of being the leader, which she knows she can be. Or at least some places where it still exists, maybe Nashville, Tennessee, but it's okay to have both strong females and strong males. You can charm a stalker without cutting him out of the film. You don't have to make men appear weak and emasculated in order to make women appear strong, and you don't have to do away with them completely, as this actress has actually suggested. I believe that the numbers will speak for themselves on that, and once again, you don't have to go and replace James Bond with a female character in a brand that was built on a strong male James Bond character. You can have other strong female characters instead. However, what is this current process where it seems like destroying whole brands and narratives is necessary to be inclusive? I do not believe that customers do either, but you know that there is a method to update things. There are ways to include diversity and inclusiveness without totally destroying the idea, which is why, returning to the Barbie movie, I didn't mind since it was what I anticipated, right? I've always seen Barbie as a tool for female empowerment. I assumed it was a woman's body for women, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. However, when they attempt to tamper with other objects where they shouldn't, it simply comes across as dishonesty, and the customer, they are not likely to purchase it, watch it, or like it, in my opinion. Disney's treatment of Snow White is indicative of a larger problem with entertainment companies disregarding or dismissing fan feedback. Goldberg's remarks, which label fans who voice criticism as sick and out of touch, are an example of this dismissiveness. By attacking the audience rather than addressing their concerns, the company runs the risk of further alienating devoted followers who believe their views are ignored. The annoyance extends beyond Snow White from Star Wars and The Little Mermaid. Disney has often come under fire for choices that seem to be more about message than narrative. Critics say these changes aren't necessary for the plot, but to win over the public. Every time Disney avoids real fan concerns, they create an atmosphere where resentment grows and more substantial opposition to their initiatives results. Disney's latest movies, even some of their most anticipated releases, have had trouble at the movie office. For example, The Little Mermaid had mixed reviews but did not get as much criticism as Snow White. The main distinction is found in the storyline of each movie. Bailey's reverence for the source material fostered goodwill, while Zegler's contemptuous remarks stoked animosity. The firm has lost sight of the charm that once made Disney unique. According to fans, audiences are beginning to wonder if Disney can still create emotionally compelling stories due to its disregard for criticism and emphasis on corporate messaging. If Disney ignores this growing gap, it may suffer long-term harm to its brand as devoted fans stop mindlessly accepting everything the company releases and some actively boycott specific releases. Since Disney has messed up this Snow White, the response is a loud warning that the company can no longer take the audience's goodwill for granted. Not the story they decided that they couldn't really cast, small people in these roles, so they cast big people and then shrink them down using computer-generated imagery so it looks awful. Then they cast Rachel Zegler, a Hispanic woman, as Snow White. Again, you can cast people however you want, and I don't really care, but Snow White's description is skin as white as snow, lips as red as the rose, right? I mean, there's a real physical description of the part. Not my due to the controversy surrounding Snow White and other recent projects, Legacy Media decided to cast Rachel Zegler as the character who was skin white as snow. This is because the movie is called Snow White and it isn't racist to write it that way. At this critical juncture, Disney must decide whether to keep reinventing classic tales to suit contemporary trends or to pause and consider what its fans really want, whether Disney can win back the audience's confidence or whether it will keep alienating the individuals who created its legacy will depend on the result. Snow White's criticism has shown a widening divide between entertainment firms and their viewers. Many fans think that Disney's emphasis on diversity, and since people seek fresh, creative tales that represent contemporary ideals, diversity has come at the price of genuine storytelling, not awkward remakes of classics that people adore. It remains to be seen whether Disney will be able to acknowledge this change and adjust appropriately as long as media outlets like Good Morning America and celebrities like Whoopi Goldberg continue to blindly support Disney's choices. Although the firm could feel free to disregard fan criticism, these famous personalities run the danger of losing their own credibility. Since the audience is growing, fans who are aware of the business connections affecting their views are less inclined to take Disney's superficial affirmations at their value. Finding a way to meaningfully reconnect with audiences is more important than simply navigating controversies. If the company can change its emphasis from messaging to storytelling, it may still be able to repair its reputation, but if it continues to dismiss fan concerns, the magic that once defined Disney may be lost forever. What do you think? Do you agree with Whoopi? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you like this conversation, don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the notify button. Do you think the ABC staff and celebrities really support Snow White, or are they just paid to promote it and owe Disney to turn their backs? The bell.